This was my first time flying home for the holidays. But the second I got on the plane, I found some bratty kid had stolen my seat. I was about to lose it when a flight attendant came over. But instead of kicking the kid out of my seat, she took me straight to first class. At that moment, Ella, the CEO, was being hit on by some balding creep. She grabbed me and pulled me into the seat next to her, and the guy finally backed off. The whole flight, Ella kept her head buried in work while I goofed around with the reclining seat like a kid, having a blast and trying to get her attention. But this hard-nosed executive never would have dreamed that the guy sitting next to her would completely change her life. Right then, the plane suddenly hit severe turbulence. The cabin started shaking violently, and everyone instantly panicked, even the flight attendants. As the shaking got worse and worse, the whole plane went flat. Ella instinctively grabbed my hand. I didn't pull away, but I was incredibly tense, so tense I couldn't speak, so tense I was afraid to breathe.
Pardon. Non, c'est pas grave, y a pas de souci.
Eventually, the plane landed safe. As I watched Ella gathering her things and getting ready to leave, I finally asked her name.
Ravi d'avoir frôlé la mort en votre compagnie, en tout cas.
Au revoir.
Balthazar. Je m'appelle Balthazar.
Alice.
Watching my goddess walk away, I felt completely deflated. She was so accomplished and powerful, and I was just some regular office worker. That's when I accidentally spotted a USB drive Ella had dropped on the floor. I immediately unbuckled my seatbelt and ran after. But Ella had already hopped into her friend's car and taken off.
The next day, I walked into the office with complete confidence. My presence commanded respect. Everyone flashed me, admiring smiles. But behind my back, they'd mock me, calling me an uptight old woman who didn't know how to have fun. But I didn't care about the gossip. I was laser-focused on doing my job well and becoming the magazine's next editor-in-chief. What I never saw coming was my boss giving the editor-in-chief position to John. I was shocked and confused by my boss's decision. I was clearly the most qualified person for the job. But what my boss said next really got to me. He told me that while Jonah wasn't as capable as me work-wise, he had an outgoing personality, got along great with everyone at the company, and had fresh ideas that would help the company grow and innovate. Compared to me being gloomy all the time, he said I didn't have any of Jonah's energy or enthusiasm. Faced with my boss's assessment, I didn't argue. I just quietly accepted it and decided to bury myself in work. But when I opened my computer to pull up some files, I panicked. My USB drive was gone. While I was freaking out, I happened to notice a sticky note on my computer screen saying some guy had come by to drop something off for me, but I'd been busy at the time. I immediately dialed the number on the note. Nick was out partying at a bar with his friends. He excitedly gave me the bar's address. Without a second thought, I headed to the bar. This was my first time setting foot in such a loud place, and I had one thing on my mind: get that USB drive and get back to work. But Nick didn't have the drive on him, so I had to go with him to his place to get it. The moment I walked out of the bar, I was stunned. There in front of me was a beat-up pink moped. I never imagined I'd be riding home with Nick on such a ridiculous vehicle. But after seeing the earnest look in his eyes, I quietly accepted this mode of transportation. Seeing me fumble with the helmet, Nick quickly jumped in to help. And that exact moment was sneakily captured by my coworker. From their angle, it looked like we were kissing. This was explosive gossip. We'd only met once, but somehow I felt this inexplicable trust toward this guy. I obediently went home with Nick. After successfully getting my USB drive back, I didn't stick around. I just turned and left. But Nick clearly had more to say.
Je me disais peut-être qu'on pourrait prendre un café un soir. Pas forcément un soir d'ailleurs. Je sais pas pourquoi je dis soir, ça peut être le matin, ça peut être l'après-midi, moi je suis assez dispo. Et puis pas forcément café, hein.
Écoutez, je sais que c'est très à la mode en ce moment et c'est vraiment gentil, mais je suis débordée, comme c'est pas du tout mon temps. Au revoir.
My rejection cut deep into the sensitive, fragile heart of this young guy. But the kid never would have dreamed that I'd soon be the one pursuing him. That day I walked into the office with my usual confidence, but my co-workers were whispering to each other, and there was something strange in their eyes. I was completely confused. Then my best friend handed me a photo. What I saw completely floored me. I immediately went to find my boss, trying to explain that I hadn't done anything that would affect the company. But what my boss said next threw me for another loop.
Alice, quand tu te prends la tête, c'est ça que je veux voir chez toi, moi. C'est ça que je cherche. Un peu de folie, un peu de magie. Là, avec le petit, tu me fais rêver. Bah, t'as l'esprit rebelle. Et c'est bien, c'est ce que j'aime.
I stood there frozen, unable to calm down for the longest time. My ex-husband's cheating had destroyed my faith in love. After the divorce, I became a 8-year-old single mom. Now my life was just my daughter and work. I'd never even thought about my love life. I turned to my friend for advice. She told me I should start dating again soon. Not only could I find a partner, but I could give my daughter a complete family, and it might even help me move up faster at work. When I got home, I cranked the stereo up to max and poured myself a glass of wine I hadn't touched in forever. Listening to the music, I opened my closet that had been gathering dust. In that moment, a crazy idea was brewing inside me. I dropped the tough career woman act and put on an outfit that oozed appeal. I went to Nick's school on my own.
Never thought Ella would actually show up at school to see me.
Ça va?
Bonjour. Qu'est-ce que vous faites là?
Bah écoute, j'avais perdu ton number, en fait.
Ah.
Et je me suis dit que le plus simple, c'était encore de passer. Clairement. Ça fait plaisir de te voir. Ah, tu me fais visiter?
Being this close to her made me nervous all over again. Her beautiful face had already etched itself into my mind. We toured the school together. As we were saying goodbye, Ella caught me off guard by inviting me to dinner. I didn't even hesitate to say yes. During dinner, I noticed the restaurant entrance had this cutting-edge projection technology. It instantly sparked my curiosity. I couldn't help getting completely absorbed in it.
This time, I chose to join in on his shenanigans. My coworkers noticed everything, and they were surprised by the change in me. We went up to the rooftop together. A gentle breeze swept by, and Nick unexpectedly shared so many fresh ideas about design. I couldn't help but smile, my eyes sparkling with admiration. After that, we started spending more and more time together. I even got used to his beat-up little pink car. One rainy evening, I suddenly got a call from my sister. Nick was thoughtful enough to step away and give me some privacy, but he still shielded me from the rain. Over the phone, my sister told me she'd set up a blind date for me. The guy was successful in his career, and more importantly, he didn't mind that I had a daughter. She kept pushing me to come home right away. Reluctantly, I lied to Nick, telling him my daughter was sick and I had to get home immediately. As soon as Nick heard that, he rushed into the middle of the street to flag down a taxi. In that moment, he wasn't the naive young guy anymore. He looked like a responsible man. I smiled with satisfaction. When I got home, I went through with the blind date. The guy was charming and well off, honestly. An ideal marriage prospect. But Nick's image kept floating through my mind. I was distracted the whole time, and the date was bound to fail. I didn't care though. Things between Nick and me kept heating up. We went to a fashion show together, where all the big names in fashion were gathered. I kept reminding him not to touch anything.
But when I saw a model fall and no one stepped in to help, I didn't hesitate to rush onto the stage. The model wasn't hurt and left awkwardly. I stood there alone on stage, completely at a loss. Luckily, the big shots didn't blame me. Instead, I made quite an impression on them. After the show ended, I took Ella home. Under the cover of night, things between us heated up. Maybe we weren't ready for the night to end, or maybe we just didn't want to say goodbye yet. Either way, we decided to hit up a dance party. Neither of us had been drinking, but there was something electric in the air. Dancing close together, we got lost in each other. Afterwards, I took her home again. I worked up the courage to reach for her hand, but she pulled away nervously. She had too many doubts weighing on her mind, and the biggest one was our 20-year age gap. I forced a smile and said goodnight. Watching her walk away, I felt crushed. I wanted to try one more time. I mustered up my courage and rang the doorbell. When I found out her daughter wasn't home, I didn't hesitate. I kissed her. She didn't resist. Maybe she'd been hoping for this moment. Just like that, we made it official.
The next morning, I rushed Nick out the door. My sister and daughter would be home any minute, and I didn't want them to see him there. Nick hurriedly got dressed and headed for the door. Just as he was about to leave, I followed after him and gave him a sweet kiss. He was completely lost in the moment. When I was getting ready to head to work, I noticed a sign hanging from the tree and arrows drawn on the ground. Following the arrows, I was surprised to find a tape recorder hidden under a chair. I put on the headphones, and Nick's voice came through, asking me out on a date. I excitedly hopped on his quirky little scooter. We zipped through the street, both of us beaming with happiness. I felt alive again. This new energy sparked more inspiration and creativity at work. My coworkers cheered for my transformation and were sure I'd become even better at what I do. But life is always full of twists and turns. During one of our dates, Nick suddenly confessed his feelings for me. My heart filled with joy as I hung on his every word. Then my daughter's call came out of nowhere, snapping us back to reality.
Vous faites flipper, hein?
Les désagréments de la T'es sûr?
Bah oui, évidemment.
Ça te fait envie de... Quand j'aurai 40 ans, t'auras 21 ans. Quand j'aurai 50 ans, t'auras 31 ans. Je veux dire, qu'est-ce qui va se passer une fois qu'on se sera vu, revu et revu? Je crois pas que c'est une bonne idée de continuer à soi.
At that moment, I was speechless. I had never thought about these questions before and couldn't give her a straight answer. In the end, Ella left reluctantly. Perhaps never seeing each other again was the best outcome for both of us. Ever since Ella and I parted ways, I completely fell apart. I stayed holed up at home every day, cut off all contact with the outside world, and lost all passion for life.
My career had hit a wall too. That day, a major client came to the office looking through photo sample, but couldn't find anything they were happy with. Suddenly, the client noticed Nick on my computer wallpaper and immediately decided they wanted me to bring him in for the ad campaign. I tried to refuse, but my boss agreed on the spot and even threatened me if I couldn't get him to come in for the shoot, I'd be packing my bags. I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. I had no choice but to track down Nick again and ask for his help. After all that time apart, we couldn't recapture what we once had. There was nothing but awkwardness and distance between us.
Even though I was reluctant, I agreed to do the shoot. I was hoping this would be my chance to win Ella back. But while chatting with Ella's friend, I accidentally stumbled upon a shocking truth. Everything Ella had done with me before was all for a promotion at work. My heart dropped like a stone. But to spare Ella the embarrassment, I didn't confront her directly. Instead, I kissed her hard in front of everyone, maybe to let out my frustration, or maybe to mess with her publicly. But during the shoot that followed, the photographer's unreasonable demands finally pushed me over the edge. I felt like I was being made a complete fool of. I wasn't going to put up with that kind of humiliation anymore, so I decided to walk away from the whole thing. Seeing things going south, Ella rushed after me. She begged me to just finish the shoot, but all she could think about was her work. I finally lost it.
Bluffant. Putain. Moi, j'ai rien vu. Je suis pas jury au César, mais ça, je pense que ça méritait une petite statuette, ouais. Dans le rôle de la bourgeoise coinceuse qui fait semblant de se sortir son balai du cul et tout ça pour avoir une putain de promotion qui nomme Alice Campos.
Allez, fantasme, mesdames et messieurs. On l'accueille bien fort, on l'applaudit. Pour l'ensemble. But when I turned around, I realized Ella's boss had been watching the whole thing from the sidelines. I froze for a second, like a kid caught doing something wrong, because even then, I was still instinctively looking out for Ella.
I watched Nick walk away disappointed, my heart heavy with guilt and regret. After that, I ended up losing my job over the whole thing and lost myself in the process. But it was only when I hit rock bottom that I could finally hear what my heart was telling me. I watched other people riding around on their pink scooters while I couldn't find my own. The old sign still hung from the tree by the entrance, but now it had no arrow, no direction. I quietly pulled out the recorder, and the moment I heard Nick's voice, I felt a sense of safety I'd never experienced before. That's when it hit me. I had fallen deeply in love with this boy who was 20 years younger than me. I didn't want reality to hold back my feelings anymore, so I decided to find Nick and go after the love I wanted. I went to Nick's school and burst into his classroom. To my surprise, I was mistaken for a substitute teacher and asked to teach the class. With everyone staring at me, I froze, completely at a loss for what to do. But when my eyes met Nick's, I decided to be brave one more time for my own happiness.
J'étais nulle, Balthazar. Je pense à toi, mais tout le temps, en fait. Ces nuits-là. Je faisais pas semblant.
Et juste un truc. Une fois qu'on sera vu, revu, revu, et que c'est con.
Instead of responding, I just kissed him. In that moment, I threw away all hesitation, cast aside the constraints of age and society, and held tight to the person I loved. Love can be unpredictable like that, leading us to find that perfect person in a sea of faces. As long as the love in our hearts still burns strong, we should go after our own happiness without holding back.